Electric vehicles should be banned. All right, let's talk about it. Okay, welcome back. And today I want to talk to you about why I think that electric vehicles should be banned. I decided not to make this a really long video because at my first crack at it, my presentation was like an hour long. I thought, all right, let's take it easy on you poor people. So I'm just going to give you a very condensed version. I'm going to cut right to the chase, okay? I mean, I'm going to cover some points in order to make my point, but I'm going to try to keep this as concise as possible. Okay, so for several years now, we have been pushed toward these electric vehicles, even though the technology really is not perfected yet. But the powers to be and our government, they're taking steps to essentially coerce us onto this garbage that is not ready for prime time yet. And in fact, it does the opposite of what they're trying to achieve. This is what happens when you have an ideology-driven government. Okay, so let's make a few points. First, let's talk about the safety of these things. Okay, so all of these electric vehicles, they run on lithium batteries, and they do not have a very good safety record. Okay, so I'm going to start by showing you some clips of e-bicycles, and then we're going to move on to the cars. All right, so let's take a look.
Ion battery fails and sparks fire, often because of faulty design or overcharging those batteries, causing more than 200 fires in New York City alone last year, injuring 147 people and killing 6. And look at this battery catching fire, exploding right next to a child.
Dale Williams saw that danger firsthand. He bought a used e-scooter online. Watch how it burst into flames at his home.
We're standing here in front of 80 Madison Avenue. A call came in this morning a little after midnight for an odor of smoke and fire in the building you see behind me. Unfortunately, there were 6 critical injuries of residents that were pulled out of this fire. 4 of them have passed away. As you can see to my left, it is very clear that this was caused by lithium-ion batteries and e-bikes. There was a very large number of both batteries and e-bikes.
If you see a Chinese electric bike on fire, you'd better run.
Okay, oh my God, these e-bikes are just a public nuisance. And it doesn't take very much for these batteries to spontaneously combust. Okay, but it's not just e-bikes, okay? Electric cars are vulnerable as well.
Electric cars have a reputation for catching on fire. And when they do, it's nearly impossible to put them out, and they can reignite days after being extinguished. But what is it that makes EV fires worse than regular car fires? Why are they going up in flames by themselves? And most importantly, how the heck do firefighters put these raging, toxic infernos out? Let's take a look at why these fires are a big deal. When EVs catch on fire, they burn 3 times hotter than a typical car fire. Jets of flames get shot out from all sides and toxic gases are emitted. And I mean mega toxic. And it is all because of this. Most EVs on the road today use a lithium-ion battery pack, from the Hummer EV all the way down to the Nissan Leaf. Each EV battery pack is composed of hundreds or even thousands of these lithium-ion cells. The initial chemical reaction produces heat, causing more chemical reactions which produce more heat, and so on and so forth. It's a snowball effect, or a fireball effect. When you see those crazy videos of electric cars on fire, this is exactly what's happening.
In just the last 2 days, 2 Teslas, one in Pinellas Park and another in Palm Harbor, caught fire after the storm surge pushed a wall of salt water inland.
Okay, so there's reason number 1 to ban electric vehicles. They are not safe. Now, I want to add here, these batteries that these cars run on, they're extremely heavy. The average weight of an electric car is much heavier than the average weight of a gas-powered car. These batteries are extremely heavy, and that puts extra load onto our streets. That means our streets are going to break down faster. That means we're going to have to do more frequent road repair. Have these guys thought about that issue? These people obviously do not think through the consequences of their decisions. Now, of course, their big argument is that we have to do this for the sake of the environment, that this is good for the environment, when they have not shown one bit of proof that it's going to have any effect on the environment, any good effect anyway. But there is plenty of proof that it has deleterious effects not only on the environment, but also on economics.
The environmental argument assumes that changing petrol and diesel cars to electric will help save the planet, and that's why it's so important. But it won't. Pretty quickly, I realised I was missing the big picture, and it seems most people, and indeed governments, are too. Though in the latter's case, deliberately so. The whole move to electric vehicles will make no meaningful difference to global warming and the reduction of greenhouse gases.
Okay, so I'm not going to go over all the numbers here because we'll be here forever. But there's been a lot of research on this, that the net effect to the environment is negligible, if nothing. In fact, there are a lot of good arguments that this is having a much more deleterious effect, a bad effect on the environment. But this fantasy that they can make electric vehicles ubiquitous is just that. It's a fantasy.
EV take-up right now worldwide is 9% of vehicle registrations. Imagine how much energy we'd need if governments get their way and force us all into them. And where do you think that's all going to come from, given that we can hardly cope now? In terms of EVs themselves, as many smart people already know, during manufacture they generate a huge amount of environmental damage, mining for cobalt, nickel and lithium, and all the other materials required. And there's not enough natural resources of those materials to make all the EVs of the future. And let's not forget the human rights abuses employed to mine all the material in areas of the world that you don't like to talk about at parties, like the Democratic Republic of Congo, where batteries account for 60% of cobalt mined. Hard to feel virtuous about your new electric car when it was made with slave labour and questionable safety practices.
Okay, so for those of you out there who feel virtuous driving your electric cars, just think about your role in supporting and promoting slave labor. How does that make you feel? You feel virtuous now? So let's see. The cars are unsafe. They're uneconomical. Nobody wants to buy these things. Ford Motor Company is losing a fortune on the electric vehicles. Nobody wants these things. Even with government subsidies, they're too expensive and people just don't want them. But they're trying to force these down our throat. They're god-awful for the environment. I mean, listen, the technology is flawed and we don't have the infrastructure for this stuff. We can't afford it economically. And let me throw one more thing in here for you EV lovers. The material that goes into these lithium batteries are non-recyclable. They go right into the landfill and they leach toxic materials into the soil, into our water supply. These EV batteries and solar panels and the big blades that go into these windmills, they're all non-recyclable. They get dumped into landfill and they just leach poison into our food. This whole push toward EVs is evil. Don't ever buy an EV. Don't even buy a hybrid. Resist as long as you can and push back. Stick with your gas cars. They are much more economically and environmentally friendly. Anyway, again, I tried to keep this video very, very short. I left out a lot of supporting documents just to respect your time. But if you want to do a YouTube search, there's tons of material supporting all of my arguments. Anyway, electric vehicles should be banned forever. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Ed Anderson, live from Minnesota, signing out.
Copy that.